40 years ago, we opened our doors with one mission in mind.
We'll be right back with the top 10 songs of 1983.
To sell quality American-made vehicles at a fair price.
You have arrived.
And we've loved every minute of the ride. Celebrating 40 years of Two Rivers Ford.
Welcome in on this Friday. We're at Party Foul in Cool Springs today. Lovely to have you guys here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Hope your morning's off to a great start. Hard to get the tournament off to a better Thursday afternoon than some of the results that we got yesterday. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation. Upsets in a couple of upsets in a big spot. Brackets, I'm sure, busted. How badly did the losses of Arizona and Virginia affect your bracket yesterday, bud?
I had Furman.
You had Furman?
I had Furman to beat UVA.
Okay. Why?
I just, the way that they score the ball. And then Virginia, man, I know they won the national championship in 2019, but have you seen this stat? That they have 6 tournament wins in the last 6 years. All 6 now. All 6 wins happened in that 2019 national championship
You're
run.
kidding.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
No, I had not seen that.
Now, the narrative around Tony Bennett, what is it? Is it that he's a national championship head coach, which he is, or is it that he gets bounced in the first round with their style of play? So that I wasn't optimistic about UVA getting past the second round, so I said, why not? That'll be my 13-4 pick. Arizona I had in my national championship game, losing to UCLA. But other than that, man, all things considered, not that bad. Not that bad. How's yours?
Not great. I did not have Furman.
What was the biggest hit?
Nor did I have Princeton. For sure, Arizona. I thought Arizona was going to do more damage than they ultimately ended up doing, but they played arguably their worst game of the year last night, and that's what happens come tournament time. Casey Alexander, Belmont men's basketball coach, will join us out here at Party Foul here in just about 15 minutes. Our tournament analyst will actually have some games to talk about. Given that Tennessee played last night, I suppose that's the place that we have to start. a 3-point win over Louisiana Lafayette, and they didn't want to make it easy on you.
Quite a sweat last night.
Oh, my God. Rick Barnes in March, baby. Never in doubt.
18-point lead gets whittled down to, 4 or 5 late?
Yeah.
Just an abysmal offensive performance when you look at the numbers, the way they shot, from 3, the way they shot from the free throw line. Santiago Vescovi with only 3 points last night. That was the textbook definition of survive and advance from Tennessee.
Tyreek Key was their leading scorer with 12 points.
Yeah, off the bench. So last year, Tennessee faced Longwood in the first round, a 14-3 matchup.
Right.
And Tennessee was lights out. Hit 13 or 14 threes, I believe, in that game.
Yeah.
They turned around, played Michigan in the second round, couldn't buy a bucket from deep. Went ice cold. So I suppose you'd rather have what happened this year if Tennessee is going to warm up against Duke and hit some of those outside shots and maybe pull that off. You'd rather have it that way as opposed to just looking like you can't miss in the first round and then turning around and losing that touch in the second. I don't know that Tennessee is going to do that against Duke, but with how up and down this team has been, I'd almost rather they have that bad performance in the first round and get out with the win and hope that the good performance is coming at some point against the Duke team that can really score.
Well, and that's the thing. Like Duke, the story of Duke's season has been fascinating to watch, right? Because it's almost counter Carolina, what happened in North Carolina. Now Duke didn't start with the kind of ranking and pedigree. I mean, Duke obviously has college basketball pedigree, but not coming into this season.
Yeah.
Uncertainty and how things were going to go under John Shire and how big of an impact stuff like that is going to have. We weren't really sure what to make of the Blue Devils, and their season started kind of sluggishly, rounded into form pretty nicely in the second half of the season. And not a great ACC this year. I mean, Miami was the class of the conference, I would say, for the vast majority of the season. The way that they lost in the NCAA, or rather in the conference tournament, was a big disappointment there. But Duke now at this point, Tennessee's going to be favored.
No, Duke's 2.5-point favorite.
Duke opened.
Yeah, Duke opened
as the favorite.
I haven't seen how it's developed, but has it moved? Is Tennessee a favorite?
I mean, I've got Tennessee -3 here right now. Now that's courtesy of ESPN.com. I'm sure that your various sports betting apps may have a slight variance, but a 2.5-point favorite for Duke is a big difference between Tennessee -3.
And I'm not surprised. I'd be more surprised if Tennessee was the favorite, given the way both teams have been playing over the course of the last month or so. Duke, ACC tournament champs. They're young, but they're hot. They're scoring the ball. I mean, when you're a young team like that, you obviously don't want to run into a team as experienced as Tennessee, but I don't know. I mean, how many people are honestly going to be picking Tennessee to come out of this game?
Oh, God, no. I'm not. I mean, no, that's not what I was saying at all.
You didn't have to have that strong of a reaction.
No, not at all.
I mean, Duke. I'm looking at FanDuel. Duke 2.5-point favorite.
Okay, so we'll. I'm sure if you can get Tennessee as a favorite anywhere, I would hammer Duke. I mean, is that unfair of me though? Come on.
No,
come on.
It's not terribly unfair,
buddy.
Without Zakai Ziegler, I was telling the morning show earlier today, if Tennessee is to win that game.
Yeah, what are you, a college basketball analyst? I turned on the radio while I'm driving out here to Brentwood, and I was like shook a little bit. I didn't know if you were. It felt like you were cheating on me.
Always have been.
Yeah.
Always have been.
Thank you,
Thank you, Jonathan Schaefer.
Just remember, Buck, you're the side piece to his career.
Yes, you are the side piece. So Tennessee needs to drag Duke or drown Duke in the mud, I think, if they want to win this game. I don't think Tennessee's winning a game that gets into the high 70s or 80s.
I don't want anything to do with that as an aesthetic experience.
But it's what you'll get, and you'll like it.
No, I know. And listen, if Tennessee can just kind of level out defensively a little bit, the way that we've talked about as things have developed throughout the course of the season. I mean, they're undefeated when they hold teams under 60 points.
Yeah.
So, like, the formula is there,
yep.
And Duke is going to be a bigger challenge than they've had in quite some time. I think it's kind of fascinating just before, because we'll talk a lot about this with Coach Casey Alexander when he joins us out here on by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patty's Day. You're not wearing green.
Hell no, it's game day.
So,
hell no.
Yeah, everybody here is wearing green.
No, I see our guy Austin from Party Foul. He's decked out in his green. It is game day. I refuse, and so help me God, if you or Kirby try to pinch me, there will be violence.
I feel like Robert's whole thing about coming up to you and shaking your hand, introducing, and screaming in your face, instead of that, just pinch Buck for not wearing green. But I feel like you'd be the type of guy to levy a lawsuit against someone for assault.
Hell yeah.
Hell
You think I wouldn't? Don't try me.
I know you would. That's why I said that. By the way, before we get back into the Vols game, I didn't mean to mention J.P. Pegues, the guy who hit the three for Furman to beat UVA.
Yes.
Nashville native, Hillsborough High School, and he had missed his last 14 threes up to that point where he is ice cold. What'd you say, Schaefer?
I said we've got the call.
Oh.
We've got the call of the young man you're talking about.
Oh, yes.
He's talking in your ear.
I would love to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you disoriented by somebody?
I'm sorry. I'm doing a good job for you guys on this other show.
Yeah.
Shafe, you're doing a great job.
No.
Yes.
Lucas wants to take over the radio show and then gets disoriented.
We would love to hear the call of J.P. Pegues sending Virginia into the shadows.
Bounces back to Clark, 10 seconds. He is double. Slapped at. Prayer pass. Picked off by Heed. 5 seconds. Pegues, right wing for the win. Yes! 2.2. And timeout Virginia. A right wing three by J.P. Pegues.
I just wanted to bring that up because Nashville native, Hillsborough High School. Hillsborough currently in the 4A semifinals in Murfreesboro. They're leading 14-8 over Memphis Overton for a spot in the state championship game. And one of the best stories in Middle Tennessee State sports this year is with Hillsborough High School, and one of their star players, Caden Herron, was their best player last year, their lead scorer, their best defender. And in August, he got in a car wreck where he was paralyzed from the waist down.
Oh, really?
And Herron has been recovering since then. He's been with the team since then, on the bench at every game. He's been in rehab. He's been in therapy. He's been recovering, slowly getting back to feeling in his legs. And I got to call Hillsborough's game, their win against Sevier County a couple days ago in the quarterfinals, and he was right there next to the coaching staff. So Hillsborough High School playing for him, trying to get to a spot in the state championship game. And I believe that's Brent Doherty's alma mater, if I'm not mistaken. And if Hillsborough gets that done, with J.P. Pegues sending Furman to the round of 32, Hillsborough winning the state championship, man, that'd be a really cool storyline this March.
A very cool local storyline. Before we welcome in Casey Alexander, by the way, we're live out here at Party Foul. Come hang out. It's a great spot out here in Cool Springs to watch the games, get your day drinking going. It's a Friday, baby. You got to act like it. And there's no better place to do that than Party Foul. Did you have one of the proper apple shots that they were passing around yesterday, or had you left by then?
No, I had to go back to the station. I had some work to do.
You.
But I will be hanging out today. I have nowhere to be after 11 a.m. when we were off the air. I hope we see Robert strutting in here. He's already late. I think he was here this time yesterday. I'm not surprised.
I think he's hungover.
Yeah, he might be dragging this morning. But I hope to see Robert strolling back in here with his hair down and going straight to the bar at 10:30 in the morning.
What is that?
I thought that was a Robert drop, but that's just Schaefer doing a Robert.
That's Schaefer doing a Robert impression. Yeah, no, I'm certain that he's going to be back out here. Slay, Brett Bryan came out to hang out with us in Murfreesboro yesterday, so we'd love to see you today as we get you ready for the second round of the NCAA tournament. Coach Casey Alexander has just arrived, and he'll join us here in just a little bit. Two SEC teams getting bounced yesterday. Penn State just mugged Texas A&M. I know what that feels like. It doesn't feel good. It's an unpleasant experience. But honestly, I didn't expect the result to be that lopsided, but I was not surprised to see Penn State come out and put on a show. And then you have the second SEC team that got bounced yesterday.
Well, Mississippi State got bounced in the first four.
Mississippi
Other than that,
State. Oh no, Arkansas advanced. I thought.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty good day for the SEC.
I thought Arkansas lost to Illinois for some reason. Either way, we'll do some smarter tournament analysis with Coach Casey Alexander. Talk more about today's games and some of the matchups that we saw yesterday. Right here on 104.5 The Zone, live from Party Foul. I'm Buck Rising here with you until 1 o'clock. The Tennessee Men's Clinic, they can get you up and running again if you've been experiencing any of the following side effects. If you felt run down at the end of the day, your just energy levels, they're not where they used to be. Your lack of motivation has become more prevalent. Weight gain specifically around the belly, no matter how much you work out. Coach Casey Alexander may not necessarily be dealing with low testosterone, but if you are, the Tennessee Men's Clinic can get you set up right. They can help you get back on track fast. That's the good news. Your quality of life does not have to decrease due to low testosterone. Testosterone treatments can truly change your life. Most men experience higher energy, better gains in the gym. There you go, Coach. Better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism, and so much more. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has successfully treated thousands of men for low T, and it's only $99 for you to get a testosterone and PSA test to find out your numbers in a matter of minutes. So make this the day that you start to improve your life. Call the Tennessee Men's Clinic, 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Welcome back to Party Foul here in Cool Springs. Buck Rising here with you. I said until 1 o'clock earlier. I forgot we're only on for an hour.
Muscle memory.
Yeah, of course.
That is a demerit.
It's a habit at this point. Coach Casey Alexander has decided to spend a little bit of his Friday here with us again. Coach, it's good to see you.
Hey, glad to be back.
So a lot of exciting results yesterday. Furman, a part of the madness already. We talked about the randomness of the tournament and how anybody can get got at any given point. Furman is a team I know that you guys played earlier this season, and somebody who you're very familiar with. I got to say, I was still surprised to see them knock Virginia off that way.
Well, they're not supposed to win. You know, you got a 13 seed and a 4 seed. So, but they're a really good team. You know, and extremely experienced. Their best two players, Slauson and Bothwell, fifth-year guys that have had a ton of success in that program. Really high-level offensive team. Bothwell, by the way, their best player, in my opinion, only played 20 minutes yesterday.
Oh, he fouled out like 6.5 minutes left to go.
Had very little impact on the game, so it speaks pretty heavily on what kind of overall program they have. I was particularly impressed with them rebounding from a tough start. It was 12-2 early. They really had no rhythm at all, but once they settled in, they looked a lot more like themselves. I mean, and it goes to show you. I mean, this stage of the year, when a team's played 30-something games together and they've won regular season championships and conference championships, they expect to win the game. And as we all know, Virginia, such a slow tempo, such a low possession team. If you can kind of just win your way through, a 10 or 15 possession stretch, then you've got a chance to win it, and they did. Got a little lucky at the end too.
I mean, and listen, all of those things can factor in, right? That's the beauty of these kind of upsets. I mean, you pointed out kind of what the strategy against a team like Virginia with that pace of play would be. How much has that been kind of I don't want to say it's obviously a style that works for them very, very well. But obviously there are some drawbacks based on what you just laid out. That's been a conversation around Tony Bennett and his team, the way that they play for a couple of years now. Obviously they won going back a few years, won the NCAA tournament, but still it seems like that can crop up from time to time. And, they always have talented players. I was shocked to see Kihei Clark go out the way that he did. I mean, I know that those moments happen, but for a player who's had such a fun college career and was a big part of that championship-winning team, just an unfortunate ending there.
Yeah, really, and those are big moments, and you would assume that a fifth-year guy and a national champion, would have a little bit more poise, make a little better decision. But
Furman did. I don't know if you saw the videos of the players coming down the tunnel saying he just threw it away.
Yeah. You think he was trying to waste time? Like, what do you think was in his mind? Did they had a timeout to use?
Definitely had a timeout, and that's probably the biggest mistake there is that he didn't use it. He knew the clock was ticking. He saw somebody on the other end, and so I'm sure in his mind he was, if I can get rid of it and we can come up with it, we're going to win the game. But clearly not a good play. He throws it right to Garrett Heen, and they make one pass and make one shot, and essentially the game is over. Happy for J.P. Pegues. He's, as you guys have already mentioned, a local kid, but a really good kid that had a great year for Furman. So hopefully he can continue that run.
What game, I guess, caught most of your attention yesterday? I know there was stuff going on all day long, those two being the biggest upsets, obviously Princeton taking down Arizona as well. What game did you kind of settle in on at some point in the afternoon?
I really enjoyed the Auburn-Iowa game.
Yeah.
It's I think Iowa is the better team, which is hard to say after they just lost the game. I think the Birmingham influence of that game was really, really important.
Rowdy.
It was very rowdy. I mean, it was a neutral site, but it was essentially a home game, which is unfortunate considering Iowa was actually the higher seed in the game. And very unlike Iowa in a sense. I don't think they made a three in the first half of that game, which is what they do best. Right. Highly efficient offense that makes a lot of shots. But Auburn got themselves going. It was a very entertaining game, a lot of energy, really good down the stretch with plays back and forth, and Auburn moves on. Auburn had not been playing well at all, and so for them to find a way to win that game and look a little bit more like some of Bruce Pearl's teams can is intriguing moving forward.
So we talked to Coach Casey Alexander, by the way, Belmont men's basketball coach, here with us on 104.5 The Zone, hanging out, breaking down some tournament basketball. Ron Slay, who obviously works at the station, played for Tennessee for a long time, has been doing SEC Network games this year. He's done, I think, a couple of Auburn games.
His first game was Auburn A&M down on the Plains.
Yeah. So, and he had talked about, he knows Bruce Pearl really, really well. And I guess the discussion had been about, okay, Auburn at that point, I think 3/4 of the way through the season, they had a tendency to kind of get in their own heads to a degree. And there's no way for, whomever is watching these games or betting on these games, whatever the case may be, to kind of see that in real time. But the cohesion, the way that they performed yesterday, I think is indicative of how big an impact Bruce Pearl and his staff have on settling those guys in and kind of bringing them together, helping them work through that adversity that they may have been experiencing in a big spot for them as they tried to secure their tournament position.
Well, it goes to the old saying of it's a new season, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's they had a really short stay in the SEC tournament last weekend. They actually were only 4-9 in their last 13 games heading into yesterday. And so clearly not playing their best.
Right. Yeah.
And then they find a way to win that one, and now they've got some momentum. They've got some belief. Pearl is a master motivator. They are always at their best. His teams are when they're playing with great energy and a lot of excitement and enthusiasm, and that can carry you a long way, as we've seen with their Final Four run a couple of years ago. But I tend to lean a little bit more toward the teams that you can count on and the consistency, and so I'll be really interested to see how they do tomorrow when they play Houston.
Banged up Houston.
That's going to be an interesting matchup. Now, Northern Kentucky, they gave it their best effort, Coach. 15.2% from three. They just chucking stuff up there, and after a certain point, and it was. I mean, it's the result that we expected. But now, how does a team like Houston kind of match up with Auburn based on what we've seen so far?
Well, a lot of that answer involves Marcus Sasser, of course.
Yeah.
We sat here yesterday and we weren't sure what his availability was going to be and what his production was going to look like, and they're clearly not the same without him. But at the same time, they are extremely good on the defensive end. I mean, you can count on them giving you 40 great minutes of effort, 40 great minutes of toughness and togetherness. Not that Auburn doesn't have that, but very contrasting styles. In my opinion, it'll really come down to which style can win out.
On the other side of that bracket, in the South, Alabama, the 1 seed, 16 seed Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They win 96-75. Not a single point for Brandon Miller. He doesn't get on the board. Should Alabama fans be more encouraged that they put up nearly 100? I know it was A&M Corpus Christi, but without Miller scoring a point, or concerned that they give up 75 to a 16 seed?
I don't think they have any reason for concern at all. I mean, the only concern is that injury anything real
Miller,
that we need to talk about with Miller. It didn't keep him from playing, but he wasn't the same. But you score 96 points in an NCAA tournament game, and you're never challenged, regardless of what the seed is that you're playing. You've had a pretty good day out there, and it's a great launching spot for them. Get off to a good start, and they've got everything they need to run through their region. When we see yesterday the 2 seed and the 4 seed in their region both lose, and so it's even a little bit cleaner path moving forward. So I don't have much worry about Alabama being in Houston in a couple of weeks at this point.
Tennessee is able to gut it out. It's a tournament win no matter how you want to look at it. The inconsistencies that we've kind of seen from them down the stretch popping up again. The way that they were able to kind of manage a run made by Louisiana Lafayette and Duke will be a much different challenge for them. But what were your kind of takeaways from the Tennessee game last night?
Well, I think I think it was a real clear picture of who they are.
Yeah.
They were so good in the first half of that game. Really playing with great rhythm, the defensive end of the floor really leading that charge. But they were clean, they were smooth, they were crisp, they were confident, they were who Tennessee wants to be. But Vescovy goes out with fouls. All of a sudden Lafayette gets some easy baskets. They start turning them over, and they got exposed. Tennessee gets exposed a little bit, for what they're missing. Ziegler, clearly a guy that could settle them down and handle that pressure. And then with Vescovy out, then it just made it tougher. And I don't, they're good enough defensively to win any game they play. But I really question whether they can beat good teams going down the stretch with their lack of offensive consistency. They need Vescovy to play 35 minutes. They need him to make 4 or 5 threes. And that's a tall order. Even though he's a highly accomplished player, that's a tall order to expect somebody to deliver that game after game.
What do you think is the root cause of that offensive inconsistency, Coach? Because it's a discussion we've had around Tennessee teams at any given point throughout the course of multiple seasons now, but this one, it seems to be particularly evident in the struggles that they've had.
It's a little bit greatest strength, greatest weakness, in my opinion. I think their strength is that they they know what they're trying to do. They know what they're trying to accomplish. They play very well together. They're very disciplined. They're very structured. Coach Barnes does a great job of getting them to play that style. It's a little bit like Virginia in some ways.
Yep.
But they don't get easy baskets as a result of it. Most of their easy baskets come from turnovers on the defensive end and being able to string stops together. But they don't, they're rarely a great transition team. They don't have a lot of actions within their offense where they're getting easy baskets for the right players at the right time. They've got great patience, but sometimes that they're giving up opportunities to score easily.
Coach Casey Alexander is hanging out with us, breaking down some March Madness basketball.
So John Shire has this young Duke team playing just fantastic basketball over the last couple of weeks. How can Tennessee's more experienced roster, that veteran presence that they have all over the place, come in this game? Do they have to just drag Duke down with them and win that type of game? Do you think there's any way that they could score with Duke? What's the biggest thing that has to happen to limit them scoring the ball, Duke that is?
Yeah, I'll be surprised if Tennessee can win the game just exchanging punches from and exchanging baskets and so forth. Isn't it amazing how Duke has emerged?
Well, we were just talking about
weeks.
that. Yeah. I mean, and it's such a credit to the collective coming together and working their way, because obviously there's going to be a ton of scrutiny and
not the NIL collective. That's not what you're referring to. You're talking to.
That also matters. Turns out that's important. But yes, I mean it is crazy. Not crazy, but it's been fun to see the way that they've kind of gotten themselves back on track and really been able to turn themselves into a more complete team throughout the course of the season.
Playing with great momentum. I mean, I expect it to be a great game. Honestly, I do, and all the numbers would show that. But Duke winning the ACC tournament. They played a really good Oral Roberts team yesterday. That may not sound right to some people of your listeners, but Oral Roberts had won 20 games in a row by large margins. They had a lot of guys that won games in the tournament a couple of years ago on that team. They've got Max Asmus, who's a first-round draft pick, who did not have a good day. And so, for us to sit here and pretend that Duke doesn't have the same potential to do what they did last year, which is in the Final Four run, we would be foolish to dismiss them.
Make me feel better about Indiana's game today. If you've never said anything nice to me about Indiana basketball, I'm decked out. I'm ready to go. I'm having heart palpitations. I fear Kent State. Is there any?
As you should.
What? Okay,
yes.
So tell me why tangentially I should fear Kent State.
Well, on one hand, you've got the best two players that are going to be in the game,
yeah.
And Jackson Davis and Huchifino. Both of those guys extremely talented and can win games by themselves, and they just happen to have two of them. And I really like Indiana's team and their potential. But Kent State, to me, is woefully underseeded. They are a really good basketball team. They're tough. They're physical. They're experienced. The MAC conference is a really good league, and they win that championship game against a really good Toledo team by double figures. They're up virtually 20 points the whole time. And so, I'm not going to be shocked at all if Kent State wins the game, but it's because Kent State is a really good team.
Yeah.
And as we all know, I mean, we've talked a lot about several teams already that have been a little bit too up and down. I would put Indiana in that category for sure.
Well, I don't know how many of their games you've caught this season with Indiana, but that has been a thing that a lot of Indiana fans have been critical of. Obviously, now with Huchifino and the way that he's kind of come on, I think he's just found a level ground essentially to kind of fit into what it is that they do, because the fit didn't necessarily seem right early on in his freshman season. And obviously when you're playing with a player like Trace Jackson Davis, who's, I mean, if were it not for Zach Edey, I think we would be having and that's not even biases that I'm going to have about him, because he's been a really great player for that program for the past couple of years. But I do think that kind of inconsistency situation continues to pop up with them at points where, and I don't know really, and maybe there's not a way to analyze it quantifiably, right? Because that kind of stuff happens from time to time. But is there something that I'm missing when I watch Indiana that kind of cause those moments to occur?
I'll just say this. They have the pieces. They've got the experience. They've got the athleticism. They've got the talent. They've got a really good coach. What they don't have, to me, is any consistency from the three-point line.
No.
And, they don't shoot a lot of threes. They don't make a lot of threes. They don't very, very small portion of their point distribution comes from the three-point line. And I don't think they've got the overall size and just ruggedness to win 6 games in the NCAA tournament without making some threes.
The winner of that game will play Miami or Drake. That will be later this evening. We talked to you yesterday about Drake. Miami's been one of the better teams in the ACC throughout the course of the season. Their conference tournament not necessarily working out for them the way that they wanted to. But what kind of stands out about the matchup that Miami will see today?
Well, the interesting part for me in looking at that game is that Miami has had their success the last couple of years because they're very unconventional for a Power 5 team. They play small ball. A lot of guards out there, a lot of guys that can make plays, play off the dribble. They shoot threes at a really high clip. And that's an uncomfortable matchup for teams that are built on size and power, like a lot of the Power 5 teams are. Ironically, I think Drake neutralizes that quite a bit because that's they don't play that way on purpose, but they won't have the same matchup. The matchup problems will be because of the talent. They won't be because of the style, And I think Drake can. Neutralize that quite a bit because they've got the pieces that can match up pretty easily, honestly.
I love that Buck has to wait until 9 o'clock Central Time for that tip-off, too, between Indiana and Kent State. They're really going to make you sweat it out all day.
I was so upset that the Tennessee game was that late because regardless, I'm excited. I'm going to be miserable all day. It's the best part about having a team in the tournament. It's that awful gut-wrenching feeling until your team plays, and then all the ebbs and flows that come along with it. It's the one moment I think I get to be a real sports fan for a couple of hours.
We have not talked about Kentucky yet, I don't think.
We have not.
So Kentucky, 6 seed, playing 11 seed Providence in the East region. Winner of that game moves on to face either Kansas State or Montana State. Kentucky will tip off at 6:10. What do you make of this Kentucky team that – at this point, it's just the yearly tradition of the early season struggles and then figuring it out somewhere down the stretch. But I don't know. This year felt different because those struggles seeped into SEC play in a way that they hadn't in years past. And then there's the Bryce Hopkins storyline of the transfer to Providence and the things he said on the way out the door. But I don't know. I get the feeling, Coach, that Kentucky's just going to try and take some revenge out on Providence from what happened last year.
Well, we'll see soon enough for sure. But I'm intrigued by the game as well. Honestly, I don't think either team is playing very well coming into this tournament. I'll be surprised if one of them is going to win this game, but I'll be surprised if we see either of them in the second weekend. The big difference for Kentucky this year, they're a lot like the Indiana team that we just talked about. They don't shoot a lot of threes. They don't make a lot of threes, and that's not the first formula for winning games. But to be an elite team and a Sweet 16 team, you don't really need holes. You got to be able to find ways to win games in a variety of ways. Exactly, and Kentucky has not done that very well. And then the big piece that has been talked about a lot this year with Shibwe is, he's one of the best rebounders of all time. It's miraculous what he can do, but he has been exposed on the defensive end in ball screen situations quite a bit, and so they're picking on him a little bit in those situations, and then he just hasn't been able to score the ball away from the basket at all. And so those are for a guy to be so important and so impactful, but even he has some holes that they've got to cover up. Really limits their potential, in my opinion.
Coach Casey Alexander, Belmont men's basketball coach, hanging out with us here at Party Foul in Cool Springs, your place to watch Day 2 of the NCAA tournament. We're going to continue to talk about this bracket and the games that are coming up today in just a little bit with Coach Alexander and do some polls because the show's almost already over at this point. 615-737-1045 if you want to jump in as we do last call for phone calls. Live from Party Foul, it's 1045 The Zone. Buck Rising here for my good friend Gary. Don't sell without the Intel Ashton. Gary told me the other day that people are constantly walking up to him and saying, don't sell without the Intel. And that message could not be more true because right now is a fantastic time to buy or sell your home in Nashville. And you cannot do that without the intel. No one has more intel than the Gary Ashton team, and it can help you do so many things in this red-hot Nashville real estate market. You can sell your home without any stagings or showings, find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market is still hot, and help you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity right now. I bought my home with the Ashton team almost 4 years ago, and I cannot be more grateful for the position that they put me in with my investment. For more intel, you can visit them at GaryAshton.com, where they give you the edge on the most up-to-date intel in Nashville. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate team of the Preds and this radio show. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Visit them today at GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel. Welcome back live from Party Foul in Cool Springs. Lucas Panzica's here. We got CJ, we got Kirby, we got Coach Casey Alexander for one more segment. Ron Slay, Brent Doherty about to join us out here to watch some college hoops on day 2 of March Madness. Been a lot of fun so far. I don't know how much Slay and Brent got after it yesterday, but I know Slay was playing dice games at the bar by the time that I left Party Foul in Murfreesboro.
When did you leave?
About 1 o'clock. I hung out for a little bit,
Okay.
long enough to take some of those problems that they've got out here and, go through the rest of my workday that way. Coach, with the games that are remaining, Lucas wanted to check in on the teams that we all picked to win the title. You said that you had picked Arizona. That didn't last very long. Now, that was, whatever. That's why we watched. That's why the games are incredible. We got the kind of juice that I think we're all look for this time of year right out of the gate. The Furman game was the second game, I think, that started yesterday.
Yep, second game.
Afternoon. But Arizona may have played their worst game of the year against Princeton, and to their credit, Princeton took advantage and was able to get the upset.
Yeah, uninspired is what I would say about Arizona. I think they were took a little bit for granted there, which is what you can't do in this tournament. Again, Princeton, team that's won a lot of games, really good offensive team as they've always been. But what was so impressive about Princeton's win to me, you would think they've got to catch lightning in a bottle and it all work out, for them to win a game like that in a 15-2 game. But they didn't. They're 4 for 25 from the three-point line. They're 3 for 5 from the free throw line.
I saw that.
And so they literally just went toe-to-toe with Arizona for 40 minutes, and they beat them fair and square.
Can you imagine saying Princeton would not cross the 60-point throreshold and still beat Arizona, one of the best offenses in this tournament?
That was in my notes. They, as Coach mentioned, 4 from 25 from 3, shot 5 foul shots, and only had 1 player in double figures.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
But a great game plan, guys that believe, and of course, I'm sure they talked a lot about, hey, let's just get from timeout to timeout. Let's just stay in the game. If we can keep it a game and be in the game late, then we can find a way to win. It's exactly what they did.
Who is your champ, Lucas?
I have UCLA, and I know you have Alabama,
Yeah.
Coach. Between the two, UCLA and Alabama, who do you think had a better first day of the tournament?
UCLA was exceptional.
Yeah.
The start that they got off to in that game, and they really played really well from start to finish. I was very impressed with what they did, and another team that's playing really well. And another team that has a lot of guys on that roster with NCAA tournament experience, Final Four experience. Pac-12 champions. They have all the pieces that they need. Jaden Clark being out is a little bit of a concern, of course. Jalen Clark. But they've got the weapons that they need in order to win this tournament.
I feel like it's Mick Cronin's best defensive team so far that he's had at UCLA.
I think it's a product of just the fact that he's been there now for several years. There's not a guy in that program that wasn't recruited by him for these reasons. They have a clear identity of who they are. Any coach is a better coach when players understand what they're trying to accomplish and what the identity of the team is, regardless of sport.
Mick Cronin is always somebody who just you have to drag him out of the tournament kicking and screaming every year, it feels like he's one of those coaches on the sideline that just has that energy that I absolutely love this time of year.
I just like that he's really short. It's short and bald. I like that. I think it's a good look.
And you know what? A lot of good basketball coaches short and bald.
But you know what I love about Mick Cronin? He still wears the suit on the sideline. I think I can count on one hand the amount of coaches in this tournament. It might just be one. It might just be Mick that still go with the suit, the old school suit on the sideline. Even Rick Barnes got away from wearing the suit.
You think he just strolls down to Rodeo Drive, and
Yes.
He's got a little hookup down there?
I bet Mick Cronin goes absolutely nowhere near Rodeo Drive.
Were you a suit guy? Did you? Was there a point where you made a conscious decision to move away from the suit, like the vast majority of coaches in America?
Yeah, I think all of us jumped on the first opportunity to get out of that, and thankfully there were some higher ups that joined in as well. It's all of us are suit guys, just about. Virtually everybody, and we were kind of increasingly getting less formal. From year to year, but COVID came and everybody realized, God, why in the world are we dressing like this?
It doesn't make sense, does it?
Nobody's even at the games, and now, gosh, I hope we never go back.
We do those tournaments in Hawaii and the Bahamas every year to start, and everybody's out there in Tommy Bahama floral T-shirts. I'm like, what? Why are we going so far and beyond to dress up on the sidelines? Coach, of any of the games that we have or have not talked about that we'll see throughout the course of this afternoon as we get ready for some tip-offs here in just about 15 minutes from now, is there a game that catches your attention that you think is going to be a particularly well-played matchup throughout the course of the second day?
Well-played matchup? I don't know about that. I am interested because I'm a mid-major guy. I'm interested in the St. Mary's VCU game.
Yeah.
St. Mary's is high-level offense. VCU is high-level defense. Both teams really, really good. And I'm glad. On one hand, I wish they both had a chance to upset somebody or a Power 5 and they could both advance, but one of them is going to move on, and they're both really, really good teams. I think that's going to be a great game. It's interesting with VCU, the A-10, traditionally a really strong lead that can get 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in the tournament, and they're the lone representative this year. But they win the regular season, they win the conference tournament, and they're still just a 12 seed, which is pretty surprising to me.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Day 2 will carry all of the games on 104.5 The Zone. Schaefer, go ahead and give me some polls, if you would.
For a poll update on the Buck Rising Show, here's a young man with a very particular set of skills. With the final numbers, here's Buck Rising Show correspondent and producer, Lucas Panzica.
Go ahead, bud.
They're presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on any non-specialty new Ford. Which upset was more fun yesterday? Furman over UVA or Princeton over Arizona? Dead split, 50-50. I'd go Furman. I just enjoyed the last sequence of that game a little bit more, and there's the local connection, obviously, Coach.
Yeah, the play to set up that three made it a lot more electric feeling at the end of that game. But the answer is yes, both of them were fantastic. That's exactly why we watch these games, Coach.
I love the surprising finish of the Furman game. I mean, obviously you're down to the last possession, anything can happen, but the way that game finished with the turnover and the quick three, and all of a sudden, everybody watching, flipped from one side to the other.
What is your biggest upset pick for today? Eldon goes Drake over Miami, like we've talked about. Eric is going Kent State over Bucks Indiana Hoosiers.
Thank you for airing me for that.
2 times is going with FDU. So that's a 16-1. Fairleigh Dickinson over Purdue. That would be something this afternoon.
Hell yes, that guy is on my side. I would love to see Purdue lose today. That would make me very happy.
Well, we haven't really talked much about Purdue. What do you make of Purdue's chances here in these next couple of weeks?
I think they're good. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. I mean, Zach Edey's he's such a unicorn, and he's such a weapon. Again, I don't want every game to be forecasted based on whether you're a good 3-point shooting team or not. But if Purdue can make threes and be an efficient offensive team without just pounding it inside for 6 straight games, I think they can play in Houston at the least.
Versatility, baby.
What is the number one thing that has to happen for Tennessee to beat Duke? A lot of comedians in the reply saying score more points. Eric says Kumwa, Josiah Jordan James, and Santiago Vescovi to all be in double figures. But then, Coach, maybe that leads to Tennessee trying to go blow for blow with the Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to increase tempo, but we saw pieces of it yesterday, and we've seen it all year. It's not that they don't have the capacity to be good offensively. They've got good players, they run good stuff, and they've got plenty of potential. But they just haven't had the consistency within the game sometimes, or definitely from game to game, that would warrant you any real belief that they're going to continue to beat good teams down the stretch.
Yeah, they're running into a team with a lot of momentum, as Coach said earlier. That's not an ideal matchup for Tennessee at this point.
Who do you think, the way that they match up, that they could take away most effectively when it comes to Duke? Is it Filipowski down low, 7-foot freshman at Tennessee, maybe has the length to deal with?
Rather than a person, I would say the formula is just to junk the game up. For Tennessee to be Tennessee, they are at their best when they are physical inside, when they are rebounding at a high level on both ends of the floor, when they are eliminating easy shots from the other team, which is their best way to create easy shots for themselves. They've got to play that way. It needs to be a low-scoring game. It needs to be pretty gross to watch. And if all those things, line up, then they've got a much better chance to win.
Lovely.
Fun. You got to think if John Shire gets this Duke team to the Final Four, best coach in Duke history, it's hard to make an argument against that.
Just read the damn polls.
Would you want the Titans to pursue a trade for Bengals offensive tackle Jonah Williams? This was the NFL news of the morning that Jonah Williams has requested a trade.
Why did you put that on my Twitter timeline? Have you seen Jonah Williams play football? No.
57% say no.
Thank you. 57% for siding with the logical. Those the polls?
Those the polls.
Excellent. That's the show.
Come see us.
For today, for this week. Coach, thanks so much for hanging out, man. You do this with us every year, and we're super grateful for your time and for your analysis. It always makes us smarter because we don't know what the hell we're talking about for the most part. We're able to more effectively fool people with you here.
I love it. Thanks for asking. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. We are at Party Foul in Cool Springs. The mayor, Brent Doherty, just rolled up. We've got Ron Slay somewhere on the horizon. Will there be dice games at the bar again? You'll have to show up at Party Foul in Cool Springs to find out, watch some tournament basketball with the rest of us. We've got games on 104.5 The Zone the rest of the afternoon, so enjoy those, and we will be back with you here on Monday on 104.5 The Zone. So for Kirby, for Lucas, for CJ, everybody out here, for the great folks at Party Foul who have made these shows possible, thanks for hanging, and have a great weekend.